Good day. Today, we're going to talk about one of our favorite bands, a group that had everything needed to become superstars. By the way, we've mentioned them multiple times before. We even have a video about the Swan Song record label, which was founded thanks to the persistence of Peter Grant and the vision of guitarist Jimmy Page. Swan Song was a great label. You probably remember that they signed bands like Bad Company. We've talked about this before. But the band Detective stood out to the members of Led Zeppelin, especially Jimmy Page. He had been interested in them since the early 1970s, back when they weren't even called Detective but Silverhead. And their lead singer was Michael Desbars. Some write his last name as Debar, but the correct French spelling is Desbarres. He comes from a noble lineage and inherited the title of Marquis. His ancestor received this title from the French King Philip II after the Battle of Bouvines in 1214. What a unique character! Desbars was the lead singer of Silverhead, a great band that was signed by Deep Purple's label, a rare case of two legendary bands being connected. Silverhead released 2 albums, but eventually broke up due to a lack of attention, management, and, of course, financial support. Later, Michael Desbars moved to Los Angeles, where he was remembered and invited to join a new band. That's how Detective was born. The name, by the way, was excellent. The lineup featured top-tier musicians: keyboardist Tony Kaye, who played with Yes, guitarist Michael Monarch, formerly of Steppenwolf, who also worked with Janis Joplin, bassist Bobby Pickett, and drummer John Hyde. In 1977, they released their debut album, Detective. Jimmy Page praised them, saying, "They are unbelievably good. And indeed, I recently revisited the album. It's a powerful mix. Michael Desbars sings incredibly well. As Classic Rock magazine once put it, it's as if he doesn't have lungs but massive air balloons." However, the band lacked hit songs, and critics dismissed them as derivative. Many called them a Kashmir knockoff. But you know our opinion. If it sounds like Kashmir, it's worth listening to. Their second album was weaker, and without proper promotion, the band began to fade. In 1977 to 78, Led Zeppelin had their own problems, personal tragedies, a turbulent period. Punk rock was rising rapidly, and bands that played old-school music were falling out of favor. Of course, rock dinosaurs like Zeppelin held their ground, but Detective wasn't big enough to survive the shift. To keep them going, massive investments were needed, but no one was willing to provide them. Unfortunately, the band disbanded, though they did release another album in 1978 on a different label. Later, a live album was released, basically a radio broadcast of one of their performances. In the 2000s, and I believe in 2021, a documentary about them was even made. It was produced by Michael Desbars himself. By the way, he's not just a musician. He's also a well-known actor with numerous film and television credits. One of his wives was Pamela Desbars, a legendary figure in rock history, whom we've also talked about. They had a son together, but although their marriage lasted for quite some time, they eventually divorced. The documentary was released under a bold tagline: "The son of an aristocrat addict and a hysterical dancer schizophrenic." Yes, Michael struggled with substance abuse, but he found the strength to overcome it. Born in 1948, he remains a fascinating and respectable figure. In 1985, he even performed with Power Station. Remember that project? But his primary focus has always been television and film. This is how rock history weaves unexpected connections. We hope this story about Detective intrigued you. People often ask us, why don't you focus more on new music? Our answer is simple. There's so much classic music that hasn't been properly explored that we don't even have time for the new stuff. And let's be honest, most new music is just a rehash of the golden era of rock. Don't try to convince us otherwise. The late 70s and early 80s were pure masterpieces. By the way, aside from our channel, there are other great resources where you can read more about these bands, see rare footage, and watch our exclusive videos. We organize some truly special events. So dive into our world. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy.